Evening, everyone. I almost hate to interrupt that music. I'm going to call tonight's meeting to order at 7:17 on Wednesday, January, 22nd of 2025. It is really nice to see everyone here today. Can I get a rundown of our board, please?
Yes, hi everyone. Julie's here. Karen Sarsa DSI.
Here.
Pretty Subramaniam. I see you, Pretty. Bill Stewart.
Here.
Trish Gonzalez.
Here.
Kelly Privet.
Here.
Joseph Wong.
Here.
Sam Yi.
You.
Jay Dixit.
Yep.
Philip Lloyd.
Here.
Richard Centeno.
I'm here.
Hi. Adriana Pinedo.
Here.
And Tina is not going to be here tonight. You have a quorum.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd like to say an official welcome to both Kelly Privet. She's our new VAC chairperson. Congratulations on that, Kelly. We're happy to have you joining us. And to Adriana Pinedo, welcome to the board. I think this is your first official meeting, and we are thrilled to have you joining us on this board of ours. So very much welcome. I would like to, do we have any public comment tonight?
Yes, we have Mr. Carl Argila.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Argila? There you are.
You're good to go.
Well, I can thank you very much for your inquiry, and the Regional Center will follow up and provide you with that update accordingly. We thank you for your public comment tonight. Do we have anyone else for public input?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you for that.
Julie, if I may, I know it's public comment. I just want to acknowledge I can do an update in the next board report on the policy.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Okay, thank you very much. We shall move on to our consent agenda tonight, which will actually be rather short. We have only the board minutes from our December 11th meeting and the financial report from Dara to go over tonight. So the first thing will be to take a look at the minutes from our December meeting. We all have them in our packets. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written? Philip, hi, thank you so much. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Oh,
Oh, Trish had the hand.
1, 2,
answer,
3.
So we'll go with that. Any discussion on these minutes as written? All right, all in favor of approving, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Oh, what am I doing? That wasn't the consent agenda. My goodness gracious me. Okay. Sorry, Erica.
It's okay.
I'm just used to doing the agenda first and then anyway, the agenda and the minutes first. Due to the incredibly destructive wildfires, the Executive Finance Committee did not meet earlier this month due to the crisis and all of the devastation that happened within our own catchment area. And I know that Jesse will be touching on that later today about the efforts of the regional center in response. But so tonight we will have Dara presenting the financial report, and as a board, we will be voting to approve the financial report, which typically gets done in executive finance. So Dara, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Good evening. Can I please have the ability to share? Thank you. Okay, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good evening again, President Chetney, members of the board, regional center staff, members of the community. Tonight I am presenting the financial report, which comprises of the operations and purchase of service payments through November 30th, 2024. Our A1 allocation in operation for fiscal year 24-25 is over 54 million, with projected expenditures of over 53 million. Our year-to-date expenditures are just over 21 million, with projected remaining expenditures of 32 million, which leaves just over 1 million unencumbered in operations. In terms of our Family Resource Center, Foster Grandparent Senior Companion, CPP and DC closure, we received over 2.2 million, and we anticipate utilizing all of those funds by the end of the fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions in terms of our operations? Okay, moving on to our purchase of service. Purchase of service again is a part of the A1 allocation, which was over 480 million. The current month's expenditures are over 39 million, which brings the year-to-date expenditures of 178 million, with the remaining projected expenditures and late bills of over 302 million. We anticipate utilizing all of these funds by the end of the fiscal year and ending on a balanced budget. In terms of our CPP, CRDP, HCBS, these are the purchase of service funds. We have not received the full allocation, but we anticipate receiving the remaining allocations in the A2. Does anyone have any questions regarding the POS portion of the financial report? And please speak up if you do, because I can't see hands raised. This is our operation and details. This is all of the information that is pulled into that first slide. More of the details. And then moving to the purchase of service, these are the details that comprise of the data in the second slide. And this is our balance, sorry about that, our balance sheet, our statement of financial position, and our surplus in POS and in operations in graft form. Does anyone have any questions? If there are no questions, I ask that you approve the financial report. Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Oh, Bill, right on it. Okay, thank you very much for that. And Trish, I see you for a second. Do we have any questions for Dara? I know that the full board, typically, executive finance has already taken a look at and approved the financial report. So I just want to make sure that all board members feel comfortable with the information presented tonight. All right, not seeing or hearing any. All in favor of approving the financial reports, please say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to, zoom right along here and have our committee reports. And we're going to start off with our Community Relations Legislative Advisory Committee with Karen.
I wish I could share a lot, but we actually were not able to meet as well because of the fires and the emergency at the time. So we'll hopefully have something to report next month. But I do want to say thank you to the Regional Center for all that they have done. I know Jesse will go into it a little bit later, but what they have done to support the community and to rally everyone around those who were affected and impacted by the fires. And so it was just so heartwarming to see that in the last couple weeks, and also to just keep getting the updates through the emails. That was really great too. So so hopefully more to share next month.
Thank you, Karen. I have a feeling that the Community Relations Department Committee will have lots to discuss at the next meeting based on everything that's happened. So thank you very much. We'll move on to the Advisory Committee for Individuals Served and Their Families. Philip.
So at the advisory committee for tonight's meeting, we have a special presentation of quality insurance team by Lucina, and our future training topic, February 26th, 2025 is the foster grandparent program, and March 26th, 2025 is the CEPTIN, and on April 23rd, 2025 is to be determined. And we have updates by Danella Santana, updates by Lucina, and updates by Jesse Romero, and obviously licensing updates by Elisa. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, my agenda. Our Vendor Advisory Committee. Kelly.
I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I was not here. I was on vacation and didn't
Good
realize.
for you.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
get
And
what
all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute, those notes, where are they? So I will be better prepared next time. I'm very sorry.
No problem. Listen, everybody needs to take the vacations when they can. So, all right. Thank you. Oh, look at that, me. With the Strategic Development Advisory Committee. So we now meet based on the calendar right before the board meeting. And so tonight we had a really nice discussion and overview of how the strategic plan is coming together through quarter number 2. Our consultant Michelle Ware was with us during tonight's meeting to go over a couple of different things and to help guide our committee in what our role can be going forward to help facilitate conversations at the board level at these meetings. There's a lot of different things in play at the moment. We don't know exactly what those discussions are going to be, what they're going to look like, but she's helping to walk us through so that at our board meetings, we'll have nice, rich discussions about how to guide Regional Center with the implementation of our strategic plans. So that was not very many words to describe a lot of words that happened during our strategic development advisory committee meeting earlier tonight. Gosh, really, do you want more from me? The board president's report. Jesse and I were at the ARCA meetings last week, and I don't know, Jesse, how much you're going to be touching on this, but I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had from our meeting there was that the governor always puts out the budget in January, and Amy Wessling, the executive director of ARCA, was saying that it's been eerily quiet during this time in Sacramento with regard to the budget, because we're all kind of waiting for the changes that might come as a result of the change in administrations at the federal level, and also because of the wildfires and what that will have in terms of a fiscal impact on the state. So there's just going to be, we're just kind of holding our breath kind of at this particular point in time. So there's not too much to report in terms of the board presidency. The only other thing I wanted to just touch on is we'll get some information out to board members, but Parents Place is going to be having its annual information fair in April 27th, I believe. It's always on a Sunday. And if board members are able and willing, we would love to have some representation to talk with families of individuals served, talk with our individuals served, and maybe discuss the importance of governance and membership on a committee or even at the board level. So we'll get that information out to everyone, but if you could possibly maybe pencil in 1 to 4 on Sunday, April 27th for some good community outreach. That's my little pitch for that. I think the meat of tonight's conversation with for the board is going to be Jesse with his report, because there's been a few things happening.
All right, you ready for me, Julie, to go? All right. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see so many faces here. So we have 36 participants. I'm going to be covering the tragic and the fires and tragedies. I'm still at a loss of words, so bear with me. I think we've just been living it so directly on so many different levels that I think when we're doing the reporting, it just kind of brings things together in the way that I'm going to present it tonight, of just kind of the magnitude of how intense and devastating it's been at so many levels. I want to begin by acknowledging and publicly thanking every staff member at the regional center. I've seen people rally and unite in ways I've never seen before. I want to thank our service providers, I want to thank our service providers for their work, their dedication, and also for mobilizing and coming together in ways that has just been tremendous to watch in terms of the support. I want to thank our board and committee members for your level of support throughout these times and all the ways that you've all reached out and helped mobilize our efforts. I want to thank our individual served and family members for working with us in these times of trying to best support everybody and reach as much people as we can to provide health and safety resources and supports. I also want to thank our first responders for being out there and helping, doing everything they can to help mitigate and protect. You'll see a little bit of data when I go over it this evening. But I just wanted to publicly start off by saying thank you. I wanted to offer a moment of reflection for everybody of those that have been severely impacted, and not just locally for us, but also in other communities nearby, our neighbors that I like to say nearby, just going through tremendous loss and impact. I want to thank the Department of Developmental Services, who have been a tremendous support for regional centers, asking how they can help, what can they do, what do we need at a state level, speechless. So I just want to say thank you. And I also want to acknowledge all the 20 regional centers who've offered support at multiple times through this process, even in the middle of the night. I want to give a shout out to those regional centers. I want to thank Harbor Regional Center publicly for reaching out to us within a few minutes, asking for resources and supports that we needed, along with every other regional center, but just within minutes. And I wanted to publicly have people be aware of this area. So I just want to say thank you. I'm glad all of you are safe and healthy here. And tonight I'll go over some reporting on the actual fire that occurred. I'm going to share my screen. Erica, is the report in the folder for everybody if they want to access it too?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you for getting that in there. And then let's see if I'm sharing my screen correctly. Sometimes I share the wrong thing. I think I got it correct. Am I on the right page here, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, there was so much activities happening that I thought it was more appropriate to put it in more of a report format versus in the PowerPoint. This list is not exhaustive. I can't capture everything we've done since January 7th, but it just gives a high-level overview of some background, some current status, and some next steps. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and then I'll try to do my best to look for hands on the side as we go through this process. But as of today, I was going to start. The fire for the ETA virus, 91% contained, or it was as of this afternoon. You can see the magnitude of the particular fire, for over 14,000 acres impacted, according to CAL FIRE. The areas reaching multiple phases, and one of the ones that we're seeing right now are portions of repopulation, or people re-entering into their existing homes that are left, or homes that have been demolished, or people returning back to homes safely, which also is causing other layers of concerns due to the ash and debris and safety concerns. I know the LA County and the city has been responsive as much as they can to ensure public safety up on those returns. It's an ongoing area that we're partnering with. I also wanted to highlight that SoCal Gas reported that service has been restored for over 4,000 structures, just to give some context there. And then you'll see that the service has been restored for additional structures in the nearby areas, but still having about 7,127 remaining, meaning that there's still areas that still have to be assessed and that don't have power at the moment. So we're trying to keep an eye on that at a big picture. From a general perspective, seems like it's been weeks. I think it has been since January 7th. That's when the fire began at 6:18 in the evening. You'll see current data of how much Impact has occurred. This is large scale. I did general data through CAL FIRE just to provide context, and then I'll hone in on San Gabe, Pomona Regional Center data next. But I just think it's heartbreaking and sad just to see the amount of impact and loss for particularly the Altadena, Pasadena area. And then we see not only the structures lost, but lives for 17 fatalities. And then it's been reported that there's been 9 firefighters injured in that process. Again, this is just focused on the Eaton fire. We know those numbers are quite larger in the other areas of impact. And sad to report that it appears there's another fire that occurred today in the Castaic, Santa Clarita area. I reached out to North LA, so I'm waiting to hear back if they need any supports from us so we can offer our resources as well. Overall, the totality of the impacted area for San Gabe Pomona Regional Center catchment area. As you know, we serve the Altadena area and a very small portion of Pasadena. The rest of Pasadena is served by a different regional center, Lanterman Regional Center, within our San Gabe family, as I like to say, for individuals that we serve in families. We have 144 homes that have been destroyed. I did a breakdown by general age group, so you can see where those impacts are from our early start all the way to our adults ages to see where the amount of homes are. This has been a very fluid number for us because people are in different circumstances. There's some individuals who left their home so abruptly and didn't know the extent of what they were going to return to. So we've really been doing our best. We have a dedicated team. I want to acknowledge Claudia and Eliza, 2 administrative executive assistants at the regional center under Daniela's division, who are really doing comprehensive tracking for us daily to make sure we get really good data. So that we've been really focused on that number, super important to us. So we can really keep track of those individuals who have lost. That way we can target our distribution outreach efforts in a very efficient way based off of needs to start going down. And so we're looking at that number. We do expect that number to go up some. So we'll be watching that carefully. We have 12 San Gabe vendor, all residential facilities that have been destroyed. 12, and then 2 family home agencies in our area. So I want to just be cognizant of the impact of our communities at large here. We have 57 individuals who were in residential settings who have been affected and had to relocate. All 57 of those individuals are safe, just relocated. And we know that change and relocation can be disruptive. So I want to thank our service provider community for being so cognizant, mindful, and thoughtful in the emergency process for individuals. San Gabe staff, we've been tracking carefully. We just had 5 staff evacuated. We have not had any staff fatalities or any staff loss of homes that have been brought to our attention. So we're tracking our workforce. And we have 1 individual served, 1 fatality in our San Gabe Pomona area. And we send our deepest thoughts and condolences to the family and during this time for the impact. I did a little bit of narrative in the report. I'm not going to read every word. Just wanted the community to be aware of our just the onset of just the emergency preparedness effort. And I'm sure you probably got the same communications that were coming out of just how different the alerts were in the news, in the media. It wasn't your typical wind advisory. Everything was really labeled as life-threatening, destructive, winds up to 50 miles per hour, red flags alerts were in place, potentially dangerous situation was a theme. And so with the support of the leadership team at San Gabe, a huge shout out to our emergency management coordinator, Suyan, who's been a lifeline for us, and trying to go through all the efforts to reach all the facets of our community to provide information. from day one when we learned of the windstorm where it started, Santa Ana winds, precautions all the way up to when the fires kicked in. And we're really open to feedback. Just as a side note, everybody, anytime we do a communication, we want to make sure we're not oversaturating our community with so much coming in, but we just think information is power, and we'd rather have you have that information. In a lot of our system processes we rely on, it's called Everbridge. And the reason I want you to be aware of that is because it's in the report, and Everbridge is the uniform system used at all regional centers for us to reach people quickly. It allows for us to reach staff. It allows for us to reach service providers, and for service providers, for staff, and for community members, individuals served based off the data we have in our system. And we're able to do really efficient work there. And so you might have heard our messages. Press 1 if you're safe, or press 2 if you need help. And that is really good data, because as soon as we get those numbers in, it gives us a spreadsheet, and we can start doing calls instantly. So we are able to hone in our efforts, and it lets us expand geographically of where impact is. And the department also gave us data that we could compare right when the alerts happened. So we just felt really well mobilized, so we could start doing our outreach efforts from the beginning. I put a summary of different things. I probably missed activities. Some of us have been pretty mobilized to the extent that we learned about this. And so just wanted to highlight and reassure the board and our community of just all of the different thoughtful actions we've taken from every perspective to ensure health and safety for everybody. We really relied heavily on the weather news alerts to track safety on the roads and provide that information. Our office remained fully opened. We never had to close, but we did encourage staff to work remotely if they could, especially for the potentially dangerous situations and for the red flag alerts. And some staff couldn't even get to our office during some of these areas because of the amount of accidents that were on the road and trees that were over just because of the impact. So we were really focused on health and safety. We pulled together community meetings with the public, asking what support needs are there, anything the community needs from us. So I think those were really effective, very well attended. Internally, we've been focused on being there for staff. This has been really hard on folks. The emotional piece, I think for all of us, we can relate to in different ways, have just been extremely heavy. It's been scary. It's been anxiety provoking. It's can be traumatizing. And so just been trying to make sure that we keep everybody processing, reflecting, and supported throughout this process has been a big focus of us. And so we've been doing staff check-ins. We've been increasing our conversations on self-care. I've opened up office hours for staff who want to pop in and say hello or check in, just whatever staff feel comfortable with. I think leadership presence is critical in times of crises. And so we've been really focused and thoughtful on our supports there. We've been really active. All of our leadership teams of focusing on individuals who have been impacted, focusing on individuals where they're evacuated, trying to track individuals when they're 7 days or up at a hotel and they have to move somewhere else, what supports they need. So we have our mechanisms in place to mobilize. And so that's been really helpful for us. Each day, our teams are doing everything they can with as many phone calls as they can and follow-ups since this has started. So I want to shout out to our teams and say thank you for that. We're still working on our numbers for individuals that we cannot reach. We've been calling, leaving messages, we report to authorities, we file missing person reports as applicable, calling emergency contacts. So that's our list that is really close to our chest there, just making sure that we're trying to find and locate everybody where they are. Luckily, a lot of the situations, people just moved pretty quickly and have been in a crisis mode, and now we're finding out they're in other areas, but we're keeping a very close eye on those, and I know it's a statewide effort there going on as well. We've done a lot of work on resources. I apologize for resource information overload. I feel bad sometimes as we're sending stuff out, but I don't want anybody to miss anything. So we made an organized section on our website for resources and information, which has been really fantastic. Really proud of all the areas of the community coming together. One of the areas that sticks out to me is the donation drive on Saturday, the 11th, that we had. I want to say thank you to Julie. I want to say thank you to Adriana, who are here. I want to say thank you to staff, everybody that was a part of it, to make it happen, that we really mobilized over the weekend to create a full-on distribution center. I'll show you some pictures coming up shortly. I've never seen something come together that quickly in such a mass amount. I don't have all the words to say thank you to everybody at the moment, but I just want to say thank you for coming through, for your presence. I want to thank the Sandgate staff and their own personal families who came in, and our vendors that were there. It's just talked about everybody being in the same room, helping people at a really tragic time in their life. And so it didn't go unnoticed by our center. So I want to say thank you. The weekend was really focused, that weekend of the 11th, really focused on the donations, the items we were receiving. We got it up and operational on that Monday. Items ranging from hygiene, personal care, clothing, activities for children. Water was a big request we were getting. Cleaning supplies, gift cards, which I'll talk about briefly as well. So just different activities that have just kind of mobilized together so quickly. Repopulation is coming with other areas for support needs. I do want to share with you that the department is very interested in hearing about unmet needs, meaning where are the areas that regional center have gaps in terms of their service delivery, or areas that we have not typically planned for that can be discussed at a higher level, and what kind of flexibilities can we get to meet the needs of families. Or the saying that I've been thinking about is what kind of services and supports would that look like for us as a center to help rebuild somebody's life potentially from the ground up. We have some families who lost wallets, IDs, who had to leave. So it's been challenging to even get hotels in other areas. So the level of distress or just in layers for each of the individuals that we've been in contact with. So just want us to be mindful that people returning back home that are able to go back home have significant needs that we have to be thinking about collectively. I want to say thank you to our Deputy Executive Director, Lucina Galarza. She's been very mobilized in assessing for individuals with medical needs. So for generators, battery backups, we've been taking inventory of what we've already been able to provide under certain funding we got from the department. And she's working on other strategies that we can think of and getting some relief where we can for some of these purchases. So if there's any provider or individual served that is aware of certain needs, let us know, let us assess so we can mobilize and get those efforts there. Just to recap there on just the constant alerts going out, regional centers that are in any kind of crisis zone are required to do daily reporting to the department. And so just wanted you to be aware of the administrative task behind the scenes that we're doing in terms of our data. And as of 3/16, very specific today, it appears that all evacuation warnings and orders have been lifted, but there's a caveat toward the end I want us to be mindful for coming up. But that's been a big area for us, is just the evacuations themselves, where people are evacuated, and what kind of supports we can provide to individuals. Donations received. Shout out to our Richard E. Davis Foundation. They graciously donated $20,000 to help families in need impacted by the Eaton fire. In addition to that, just for the community at large, We received $42,625 in donations. And with the support of Tammy Everard through our Empower Now group, Lucina and others, there was a meeting with World Institute on Disability and Save the Children. And we just received, I believe it was today, Lucina, $50,000 in gift cards, some comfort kits for our resource centers, and we're expected to receive some sensory kits in our future. And when you total up the donations coming in outside of our distribution center, as a community with your support, we've raised over $112,000 to support families and individuals, which means a lot for families. We're still working on our methodology for really good for families and individuals that have lost their homes. There's a lot of needs there to rebuild, but we're also looking at individuals in terms of tiers for individuals who have structural damage to their home, or there's inhabitable parts of the home. We also have family needs that are living with family members and needs have gone up. So we're having to track individually the preferences of families and their individual needs. But this just opens up a whole plethora and allows for families to get food and to help with some basic stuff to kind of help get restarted. And even though I'm so proud of this, we know it's not enough when you lose everything. But we're grateful for anything that we can do. So we'll continue to provide our efforts here. Several of you on this Zoom call right now have reached out with your own resources and supports. And I just want to acknowledge and say thank you for that as well. It's been very helpful in our planning process. The distribution center I mentioned earlier, as I did, it went live on Monday, January 13th. It's open to our families and individuals served. Essential items have been coming in. For those that know our conference room, it's huge. We had to shut off donations because we ran out of space. We're finally able to reopen it back up again shortly, so expect some communications. We're going to be asking for some very targeted outreach donations that we've learned in our outreach with families that are needed. So we will be doing that. We're going to be able to open up space. So be on the lookout for that for those that are interested. The distribution center is open during our business hours. And most recently on Saturdays as well to accommodate individuals. We'll drop it. Somebody help me in the chat if you can. Sandgate Pomona Regional Center was on the news. So I want to thank everybody for the connection. Yvonne did a fantastic job representing the organization, along with many staff members that you will see in there. I'm touched and I'm most proud. I have an amazing team. I think everybody knows that and sees that. I'm really touched when the public and community can see my team in action. A lot of times the hidden talent of what they do is behind the scenes in their work. And so when there's that public facing aspect to it, it just means a lot to me. I get to see it and it just shows their level of commitment in there. So I just want to say thank you for that and for representing the regional center so well and for being sensitive to families. When you bring in media, it can be hard because families are vulnerable. They're going through a lot, they're grieving. And so having cameras and stuff there can be very overwhelming. And that's not why we're there, is for publicity, but we're there to highlight the efforts of mobilizing a community. And there was just so much thought and thoughtfulness done that it just was very well done. And if you have a chance to watch it, if you haven't seen it on the news, it's very touching. And so just want to say thank you for those that made that possible, that are here with us on the call. In terms of mobilization, I'm talking about our distribution center on site. We know that not everybody can come to us. We know that some people lost cars and their vehicles. We are well mobilized for volunteers. I checked our tracking sheet today. We have over 41 volunteers, including just our workforce who are community-based, who are willing to drive to any location to make deliveries. Our tracking is by person, day and time available, the size of their vehicle. And I've also reached out to other centers. We have families living in other areas temporarily. and other regional centers are asking how they can help and what they can do to help check in on families if they're closer, and what that looks like. So we're really able to kind of fine tune these efforts. And that's just, I wanted the board to be aware of the level of commitment that we have. And we're able to really hone in on those families' needs of what their preference is, and meet them. Some families have immediate needs for us to come to them now. Some are asking for us to wait because they're in transition and they don't want the items at the moment. They want to wait a little bit. And so people are at different places that we have to respect. And so we're moving to those areas as well. I will reach out to the community if I feel that we need more volunteers for deliveries. I didn't even tap in. This 41 is not even including Northern California. So we're just very well mobilized. And just wanted I want to say thank you, let you be aware of the amount of support that we have as it relates to the delivery component that we're going to be continuing to do for our community. And then 2 pictures in action of our distribution center. And tomorrow, big day for us. We have the Eaton Wildfire Resource and Recovery Fair. It will be held at our held at the Industry Hills Expo Center in the City of Industry. Very, a lot of emotion. Guests in attendance are from all areas of need. When we learned what families are needing at this moment, extends far beyond just a regional center service. We're needing supports through FEMA. We have families who've lost their homes. We have families who might be renting homes. We have families who might have owned homes. So we're looking at all the different facets of what that looks like. So we were able to secure the Department of Insurance to be with us, the Department of Aging. We have some healthcare plans that will be joining us tomorrow. Disability Rights California, Disability Voices United will be joining us, Parents Place, Mental Health, State Council of Developmental Disabilities, and many more partners as well. So we're having an event. This event, the flyer looks a little small here. Oh, I can zoom. You'll see that it's for families served by San Diego Pomona Regional Center from 10 to 2. And it's really focused on families that have been impacted by the crisis with evacuations or loss of homes. And we were asking for RSVP so we can plan accordingly. But it's just our first attempt at many to come, because what we know so far is that we're still in crisis. And we also are entering into a recovery phase for some. Some people are still in crisis, some are going through the recovery phase, and people are going to need basic life, how to rebuild, as I mentioned earlier. And so we're kind of treating this as a pilot tomorrow to see what resources are most helpful, what information is seeking. We're going to have our staff there. We're hoping for a good turnout. I believe we had around 58 RSVPs already. We're expecting more to show up tomorrow to help families. And then the question becomes, what kind of model can we kind of keep up with to continue these platforms in a variety of ways so that families have a sense of connection and support every step of the way. Sometimes when there's a crisis, I'm speaking from a statewide or community perspective, sometimes we do a really good job being there at the beginning, and sometimes we just get back to business as usual. And this is one that we really got to mobilize throughout our process and make sure that all these families and individuals that are relying on us to make sure that they are fully supported in ways that they need throughout the process as they're rebuilding, processing, and at all different levels of what that looks like. And so we're very pleased to have this event tomorrow. I was excited when I wrote the first part about the alerts being lifted, and then we got forecasted rain coming up. So I feel that I'm becoming a meteorologist. I'm getting into the weather business here. but there is a potential storm that's expected in the region Saturday on January 25th, which is Yvonne's birthday, who's here on that 25th, I believe. Happy early birthday, Yvonne. That's supposed to last through Monday, January 27th. So let's just be mindful what that looks like, and we'll put out communications as we need to. And then I just put a couple of resources on here as well. So I didn't want to get too wordy in the report. I just wanted to give you data and give you kind of a clear picture of our mobilization efforts as a center as we've navigated this with support of everybody. So that concludes. I have a mini ED report, but I thought this deserved its own report. Are there questions for the regional center in terms of our response or any before I move on to the next phase of our meeting?
I just wanted to give a shout out to you, Jesse, and the leadership team and the entire regional center staff. Just a remarkable response. So really, really proud.
Thank you, Bill.
I couldn't agree more. I think that tomorrow's event, I didn't realize that this was going to be happening. I think it's fantastic. I'll be excited to hear how it works as, like what you're saying, Jesse, kind of like a pilot, a model for, unfortunately, other things will come. So just amazing. I mean, the fact that there will be interpreters there, and it was RSVP, and that all of those different partnering agencies are going to be there is just fantastic, unbelievable. And on such short notice too, right? So congratulations to the entire team.
You truly. Right.
Jesse, I had a question in the chat about sharing. That was a great report. I think it was really well put together, as well as when I read it, it really helped me kind of take all of this big information that's coming at us, as you said, just overload, to really look at maybe some targeted areas to see as another organization, are there ways that we can help? When I looked at how many group homes were gone, like really thinking the impact of the services being delivered, I think it could give like an organization like mine some different conversation. Like we are in that catchment area. I mean, we had 2 centers right in the fire. We're kind of in the same place you are. Now we're in that next phase of where can we help, right? Maybe not in that direct area because it's all burned down, but maybe in other areas. So if I could share this, I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's sorry, Erica, I probably asked you. It's in the drive already. I think I asked you. Okay. Sometimes I forget things. I think it's in there.
Yeah, they're both of your reports are in there.
Okay. I appreciate I was updating it before this meeting just because there's so many fluid pieces with it that's been happening. But absolutely more than happy for you to share that. The mobilization piece too, I think my assessment so far, what we're going to be seeing is now that we're really fine-tuned our tracking, that's been the hardest part for us, if I can just share with all of you, is just keeping up with the fluidity of the data of where people are and the household size and the siblings. Is it two, one home? Is it where they, trying to get to that level of detail has been a really big work in progress. And we're at the point when we look at our systems, we're able to get at a deeper level with what families are needing in there. And I think that's where we're going to be able to mobilize. For example, I just got somebody to reach out to me saying that they're in need of 2T and 3T toddler clothes, very specific. And so when we get that kind of data, we can, push that out there. Stuffed animals has been another one. Things that have just kind of came up in that area that we can, before we're taking kind of everything, and I think we can fine tune our efforts based off of needs. I'm very interested in hearing from our provider community, especially I know Lucina's been on top of it, but for those 12 individuals, facilities that have been lost, of what we can do to support. There's statewide momentum figuring out what they can do to make sure that if providers want to continue in business, what we can do to rally and support them. I know some of our providers have been, were they in business with us, Lucina, 38 years, I read?
Longer than I have. That's a lot of years. So probably they're all generational providers. So I'm sure at least 40 years, either they or their families have been in business. There are providers who've just been around for long. Like I said, I've been here 35 years. They've been here longer than I have. So 40 years is why I assume they've been around.
So in those situations, I think we can just making sure we're supporting providers where we are. And then Kelly, I'll keep it on for the vendor advisory committee, just in terms of checking in on, I think it'll come up in the most pressing items for providers as well, but just the data that I don't have that it's been on my mind is for providers themselves or staff who've been impacted, of their DSPs who, have lost and the impact. And so we need that information as well, because if we have to do planning, what that looks like, and I'm just trying to think of all the layers that a provider might be going through.
Yeah, I kind of, that's what we're dealing with. It made me think about that, right? Like we're impacting on so many levels, the participants, the program spaces, where participants are going, and then our families, like families who've lost everything, who are our staff, and how do you help all of them with all their different needs?
Exactly. All right. Lots of heavy updates. San Gabe team, is there anything that you want to address as it relates to these efforts that I didn't talk about or that you would like to?
I just wanted to share that one of the constant kind of messages we've been getting is sharing an electronic kind of out, in public, the electronic link for monetary donations. And in order to kind of protect our community and kind of protect, because our name is attached to donations, we're working on, different ways of doing it. But we're having those kind of inquiries coming straight to the communications email. There is a QR code, but one of the reasons we didn't attach it to the flyer, it just put us in a very vulnerable position that people could just superimpose the QR codes right over it. And that has been happening quite a bit. And people are already calling people, just, trying to scam people with calling people at homes and things like that. And so our community, is already dealing with a lot, and to add that layer, especially with people that really want to help our families. So we kind of added that additional layer, and I think in, near future, we may be able to have a link that'll be more accessible. But right now we're kind of channeling it through the communications email address, and we're just turning around and sending the QR code. But it's just an added layer of, just to protect folks, because that is happening quite a bit. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
Hi, Jesse. I just want to add something real quick. Good evening, everyone. So in terms of our amazing donation center, I do have a little bit of data on that. A total of 150 individuals have accessed our donation center, which is wonderful. And that's a combination of families or individuals showing up to our center and our volunteers or service coordinators delivering. 78 of those 150 were from residential facilities. So I'm happy that, because if you think about it, at that evacuation point, you leave with the clothes on your back. And so I am so happy that, the people that have benefited from that have been able to access. And obviously, you've all seen the news. I mean, there's just this amazing collaboration throughout our community, right? You see it everywhere. I mean, very, very generous donations all throughout. And so obviously our families, and we're tracking that. I was able to see our spreadsheet and seeing how families are just accessing and whatever's convenient for them, quite frankly. So it's wonderful to see that. But please know that we're contacting families. We don't want to be a barrier either, or a burden, and constantly be calling families, but we are checking in. We're targeting those families, those 144. And if it grows, then it grows, right? Because as the data is changing pretty much every day. And so we have dedicated staff, as Jesse indicated. So Thank you all. If you have any questions, please let us know.
If I could touch on a little bit on what Daniela said right now, in terms of accessing the distribution center, I think one of the challenges, or one of the things that we've been navigating downstairs is, sometimes families don't know what they want. I mean, they're still in the state of shock. And so one of the things that our case managers have been amazing into offering to deliver, and we're kind of mobilizing that as much as we can downstairs in the distribution center. But I think, a big thank you to Adriana. I know she's going to be very humble, but I do want to acknowledge her efforts for being out there and almost every day this past week, and just doing so much, contributing her time to help us kind of organize, and just, you've been such a support to that distribution center. And I know you're not, don't do it for credit, but I really, really want to thank you. Yeah, you've done an amazing thing for us, and I appreciate it so much.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to echo Yvonne's statement. Adriana has been amazing. If you could see all the bags of clothes that we've received and the amount of time it has taken Adriana to organize that. I have looked at bags throughout last weekend, and I just walked away because it was just too overwhelming. And I came in the other day and it was all organized by size. And it was truly amazing. And so she has just worked so tirelessly and has driven donations to people to make sure that they have things. So, I want to thank her as well. And know that any of the donations that we were receiving, they're going directly to the families. It's, most times when you donate to organizations, you wonder, is this really going to the person? Is this really getting there? And we are making sure that any donations that we receive are getting into the hands of the families that have been most impacted. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, team. Thank you for being such great support. Thank you, Julie, for your ongoing support, your guidance and consultation throughout this whole process. It's been a little overwhelming to the center, and your presence and insight has been really, really helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you as our board president as well. Well, on other business, I have non-crisis items. I made them shorter today because I did so much talking. And I'll go quick. And it gives us optimism for 2025. I will share with you, while we're devastated with what's happening, we have to collectively stay focused and optimistic on our service system. We have a lot of things happening for the greater good of our system. And so I'll share a little bit about that this evening. I'll try to make it quick. So I'll try to do this like in 5 minutes as my goal. I might run a little bit over, but I think we're doing pretty good on time as well on here. So, okay, let me get my next item. And last thought before I move on. This is genuine, and I think you know that, but if there's a lot of expertise on this call right now, and if there are areas that you are seeing or that you're hearing from our community on things that are either working well or things that you need us to adjust or recalibrate or think about differently, let one of us know, because we're more than happy to recalibrate is my word. If we need to, we're approaching this with sensitivity, but that's why we're doing these community meetings to get the feedback that we're doing. And so we don't take offense to that in any way, shape, or form. We want to know or adjust because your thoughts and your perspectives just lend itself to think differently and to expand in different ways. And we appreciate that. We don't feel critiqued by that. So I think that's known, but I just want to remind everybody for the crisis and even non-crisis work. So just wanted to segue with that in mind. Next up here, I'll try to bring some positive things in here. Okay. Our mission, just keep everybody focused on our mission. I keep this in here because I'm proud of it with the work we've done in strategic planning. But it helps me on the days I feel a little rough to stay focused on why we're here and what we're doing. So our mission statement's here. Master plan. Master plan is a plan that is a roadmap, I would say, for the next 10 years for our entire service system, not just regional centers, for developmental services, which includes housing, employment, healthcare. It's expansive. And so the master plan, it's in statute that there is a committee and there's work groups, and they've been in full effect. You'll see there's upcoming 2 public meetings in February and March. And so the master plan work is winding down. And what we're going to see at the end of this process is a report that is going to be generated of all of the recommendations and ideas on how to improve our system on all areas. And there'll be a report that goes to California Health and Human Services under the governor's office. And so it's an important report, and I'm really curious to see what it looks like when it comes to be drafted, of what is captured in that report. I'm really curious about practical implementation. I'm curious about what recommendations will go through in terms of policy, what will become directives, what will become best practice. The good news with it is that every recommendation is all about improving the lives of individuals served and family members, better supporting service providers, dedicating resources to the service provider workforce, reducing disparities, breaking down barriers. And so I'm very curious about, this plan and the role that we get to play in helping implement, just to kind of keep us focused on 2025 and beyond. The meetings are virtual if you're interested in participating. The public comments, you'll hear a lot of individual recommendations on what the system should look like. So lots of work there happening. Within the master plan process, and also just in other areas, the future of our system, if you take a peek into the future, you will see that all 21 regional centers in our future will have a standardized referral intake and assessment process, a standardized vendorization process, meaning when a vendor becomes vendorized to do business with us, that process will look different. If you're with San Gabe, it will look very similar. It will look very similar if you're at East LA, even all the way up to Redwood Coast. That there'll be the same documents, same service code, same rate, unless it's negotiated in that sense. So there's just a push for uniformity that we'll be seeing, expanding the service provider directory. I think our community is really going to appreciate the service provider directory because when it is in phases in the future, as a parent or individual served, you will be able to log on to a portal or website and search, I need a respite provider. And what availability do they have? What's their capacity to serve me? And start doing your own kind of review on those options. Very modern. So that will be in that future. There will be some consistency around defining what a generic resource is and what's available from regional centers, and a lot of work on improving data collection and transparency. So we're going to see continued initiatives that focus in on these areas, along with workforce investment, as I mentioned earlier. We'll see some work being expanded as it relates to direct support professionals and the whole ideology around a DSP university where individuals can get trained, do certain milestones, ultimately leading to higher wages, because we know that service provider rates are very suppressed. So we got to do some active work there as well. And just a couple notes there on just other areas of our system. You'll see that the state, with stakeholder feedback, put together a really comprehensive packet for early start. It is quite big. I think it's like 58 pages. And what we're seeing here is that's for early start and for ages 3 and above for our Landerman age individuals. That just really highlights what is a regional center, what's a service coordinator, what services are typically offered. So lots of good work happening there, and that should be coming. The update I have is nearly complete, so I can't define that as of today, but nearly complete. And more work on access and language. A little bit of budget talk. Julie did a good job doing a preview on our budget. Good news so far. I like good news. I'll take good news. Our budget looks pretty sound so far for our upcoming fiscal year. There was no noted reductions to core programs. You'll see that there's an increase in totality for the service system. You're gonna see, I want to pull your attention to this slide. This is a really important bullet point. The growth of our system. We expect, based off of projections, that we're going to grow 40,000 people next year. That's the size of San Diego Regional Center almost. Huge. So think about the growth to our system for all 21 centers. It equates to a brand new regional center. I'm not saying there's a brand new regional center. I'm saying the growth of a very large regional center, which is fantastic. That means we're serving people. And that is my thinking here as to why the budget looks so well supported, is because we're going to be reaching 500,000, if not more, for all 21 centers, 500,000 people. So a lot of people are going to be relying on to us. That's a really good indicator for healthy growth. It means that we're reaching people. It means that early start is working. It means that pediatricians are referring. It means that people are getting connected to regional center. It means that outreach efforts are working. When you see numbers to that growth, it means that people are getting connected to us. And it's my hope, and I'm being optimistic, that we're moving past the days, I know we got work to do, of people not knowing what a regional center is until much later on in their trajectory. And I think we all have those stories and experiences of not knowing what regional center was, that was available. And so I want the board just to be mindful of the growth that's happening statewide, and the investments there to look at rate reform for our service providers. We're watching that carefully. And then just the caseload increase to serve people. Now, with that said, we have to be really mindful that, as I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that can happen between now and May. May revise is where we start seeing where the budget's landing. So if we start getting wind and news that these numbers are shifting and not in a good direction for us, that's where we're going to see advocacy happening. That's where we're going to start seeing the association coming in to support us, writing positions about what this cut would look like, because there's some unknown pieces at the time of wildfires. I was reading some numbers. I don't know if any of you caught that, but it looked like it was like 42 billion. I think that was one of the numbers floating around of the damage that the fires have caused. Don't quote me on that, but it's just a significant number. And we also know Governor Newsom has been very transparent about mobilizing resources for federal initiatives that California takes on. So there's some unknown variables, but let's focus on the good part, which the January highlights came out really positive for our system so far. So that's good news. We'll take good news wherever we can get it. So I'll keep everybody updated there as well. Strategic plan, everybody. This is as of today, moving into the next topic here on strategic planning. If you go to About Us and Strategic Plan, I click the right way. And when you scroll down to this area where it says Progress Report, you will see what I'm going to show tonight. I won't go into all the details tonight. I want you to be aware that our Strategic Development Committee and our leadership team will be posting our progress reports, that we call them, or status updates on our strategic plan. So if you want to look at the details of progress we're making in those areas, with updates. You'll find that on our website. And I'll be reviewing it at different community meetings. But I just want you to be aware that we're making progress in our strategic plan. We have initiatives that we've done in the past 3 months directly related to the strategic plan, and that we continue to work with our consultant to look at our key performance indicators and metrics and all the areas that we've been doing as it relates to strategic planning. You'll see in this journey to have a new revamped website. So you'll see that coming to fruition. And you'll also see that our board of directors supported our center in overhauling our technology to have more efficient case management and fiscal systems. So that will be going live in February. So we just have a lot of initiatives, and we're going at a pace that we keep the momentum while making sure we address all of the needs for health and safety related to this crisis. But what we appreciate is that a lot of the areas in the strategic plan really do link back to crisis response and efficiencies and good tracking and data. So it's actually aligned with a lot of the areas that we're doing. We're not conceptualizing it as extra heavy lifts. So this is a plan, a 3-year plan. I'm really proud of the progress. I want to thank our strategic development committee and our consultant and staff for all of the work going into our strategic plan. It was, I'm very proud of it, the work that we went into to make this come together. So thank you. And almost done, everybody. A lot of talking from Jesse this evening. Staffing updates, we're growing. We continue to grow. 542 authorized positions. You'll see some of our growth positions in our recruiting continuing. And then self-determination, my last fun fact. Sorry, no, 2 more slides. Let me go back to individual served. We are currently serving at the end of December 31st, 17,543 individuals. So we're making our way to 18,000 individuals, and you can see the data here for Early Start and Lanterman. The teams are quite busy, which reflects the growth that we see statewide. We're not the only regional center experiencing this kind of impact of our intake process. And last slide, self-determination, we have 235 participants. So the team is continuing to support individuals getting into self-determination. And we wanted to clarify for individuals that are in self-determination, there is no impact to individuals that are jeopardized by the fire evacuation. SDP status is not contingent on that. You still remain an SDP, and we addressed your needs in there as well. That came up at another meeting, and I wanted to clarify that that those are not contingent on each other. So that concludes the Eaton Fire report for the Board of Directors this evening, and the Executive Director report for the non-crisis items for this evening.
That was a lot. That was a lot, but it was, I mean, obviously, most of it focused on a crisis, but I think, you know, good things as a result of devastating fires. And I think one thing that I've kind of taken away from tonight, being both in the this board meeting and in the Strategic Development Committee meeting, is that our strategic plan really does have flexibility and adaptability built into it. And if I didn't really realize that beforehand, I definitely do now. And I think that is maybe a good hallmark of a workable plan. So I find that very exciting personally. Next board meeting, one last thing that I just kind of wanted to make sure that everyone knew about is February begins our calendar year of board trainings at the board meetings. So based on the, as a reminder, based on the survey that was sent out in the fall, this board approved the topic of themes and trends in developmental services for next month. And we have confirmed Amy Wessling will be presenting at that training. She, again, is the executive director of ARCA. And she did a version, she's just going to be expanding on a version of this that she did at the recent ARCA Academy in September. It was very well received, just to know what's kind of going on in the system. And I know she'll be able to speak to the really massive growth that Jesse talked about and we heard about last week within the system of approximately 40,000 new individuals served. So I know that I'm looking forward to that. So any other community announcements, anything that anyone wants to say? Board members, we are not going into a closed session tonight. So I saw some big smiles there. Don't hide them. I saw them. If no one has anything else, it's been a pleasure. Regional Center, again, just an amazing job with response to the Eaton fire and Adriana. So with that, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great month, and we will see you again next time.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Hey, everybody.
Night.